We must be willing to accept the stigma of the righteous in order to inherit the favor of the righteous. Hi, this is Barry Phillips, a 10-minute Torah, day 3, Torah portion Bo. Let's go now to Exodus or Shemot, chapter number 11. Verse 1 says, and Yahweh said to Moshe, I am bringing yet one more plague on Pharaoh and on Mitzrayim. After that, he is going to let you go from here. When he lets you go, he shall drive you out from here altogether. Speak now in the hearing of the people, and let every man ask his neighbor and every woman from her neighbor objects of silver and objects of gold. And Yahweh gave the people favor in the eyes of the Mitzrites, and the man Moshe was very great in the land of Mitzrayim, in the eyes of Pharaoh's servants, and the eyes of the people. Let's drop down to verses 6 and 7, which say, and there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Mitzrayim, such as never been or ever shall be again. But against any of the children of Israel no dog shall move its tongue against man or against beast, so that you know that Yahweh makes distinction between Mitzrayim and Israel. So there is indeed to be this thing called distinction, separation of identities, uniqueness of two different identities. When we started this journey, as Moshe enters back into Mitzrayim, the rabbinical understanding is that of the 50 levels of perversion or deprivation or degeneration spiritually, the people of Israel had gotten down to level 49. That is, they were one step away from being, as they were at the time of the flood, an unredeemable people. They had become so ingrained, engrossed, and involved with the mainstream philosophies, the worship of gods of Mitzrayim, of Egypt, that they were indistinguishable other than the fact that they were subjects of slavery. They may have considered themselves Mitzrites and speaking the Mitzrite language and wearing their clothes of sorts, but they were the servant level of society. So when Moshe walks in and says, Yahweh, the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, has sent me to deliver you. And it's like, we haven't heard from him in a long, long time. You mean he's still around? He's still around. And why hasn't he been helping us before now? Why has he let us get down to this level? Why has he allowed them to enslave us? Why hasn't he done something before now? Why now? Well, it was the right time. Now, in the process of Moshe going in and talking to Pharaoh again and again and again, and the people saying, I wish you'd stop, you're only making it worse for us, Moshe nonetheless was obedient. He may not have liked the process, but at this point of the process, he's gone from being reluctant and shifting from side to side and huffing and puffing and groaning, sighing real hard to what's next? Let's get this done. Let's go. I'm ready. The process has produced a transformation. And indeed for us, we have to understand that those seasons where we are challenged and where we have to endure, those seasons where things that we believe to be true meet obstacles and resistance, if we will stay steadfast, if we will remain faithful, we will go from sighing hard to praising loud. It's just going to be a time process that we're going to have to be willing to go through. I don't know who that's for, but let it lay where Yah puts it, right? So we come now to this place where Yah says, I'm ready to end the plague process. This last plague is going to fix it. I'm going to go throughout the land, and those that are the firstborn of this society, from Pharaoh's house down to the servants, down to the cattle even, I'm going to wipe out the firstborn. And they're going to know who I am. Now, here's a couple things I want us to pick up on this storyline from today. Number one, he says that when you leave from here, they are going to drive you out. Now, Israel may have preferred to be able to go out on their own terms and in their own way. Maybe they wanted to be escorted out and kissed goodbye and waved at and say, it was nice knowing you. But instead, the people are going to beg them to leave. We don't want you here anymore. Get out of here before we all die. There is a point in time that the scriptures reveal that as Israel was marching out, that those who were of Mitzrite families were burying their dead. So as they were walking out, they were looking at those burying their firstborn. There is a what's the word I'm looking for? There's a reluctance. There is I don't know, it's an ill feeling that somebody doesn't want you and they're actually driving you out and kicking you out. Well, maybe some of you have already experienced that in some place that you were, spiritually speaking, among some other congregations, and they told you it's best that you just leave and we don't want you here anymore. That rejection, that ejection of ourselves, that leaves a bitter taste in our mouths, and I get that. But let's also understand, I'm not in Mitzrayim anymore. I'm on the next leg of my process and my journey, and that's what I've got to focus on. That's what I got to get to. He says, you're going to receive the wealth of those that you're walking away from. This reminds me of Proverbs 13 and 22 that says, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous. Let me just make a point here. I'm not trying to be prophetic. I'm not prophesying here. It's a Barry Phillips observation. Okay. There is a season that we're entering into where it's going to be better financially, at least for a season. I don't know how long this season's going to last. It could be a month, a few weeks, it could be years. And people are going to increase in their goods and their supply. But when, it's not if, but when things turn sour and society begins to break down, do not be shocked if, because you accept the Hebrew identity and you count yourself as Israel, that you're going to be thought of as the problem. You're the root. And if we get rid of you, we get rid of our problem. And it could just be that they're saying to us, here, take whatever you want, just get out of here. The wealth of the wicked is laid up for the righteous. And then finally, let's understand that it says in verse 6 and 7 that as this outcry is going out, as the hand of Yah is heavy upon the earth, and we know ultimately those days are going to come. We don't know exactly when they start. Use your own best calendar calculations. When they do, the distinction between who belongs to Yahweh and who does not will never be more apparent. You have to be willing, if you accept I am Israel, I am of the house of Israel, I am a Hebrew, I belong to the Hebrew covenant family of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. If that is your identity, and that is who you are, people may wink at that, smile at that, and walk away and think nothing of it. They may glance at your seat and say, I just don't understand why he has to wear those things on his clothes. The time may come where that distinction will not be that of favor or of tolerance towards you. But at that same time, you do not want to be identified as among those of the other side, just the rank and file of acceptable society from everyone else. Because when Yah makes distinction, it's for his purposes, for his favor to be shown upon his people. and not even a dog will open its mouth and yap at you. Yah has good things in store for us. Until tomorrow, shalom.